Okay, this is a video tutorial for the Nextlifter software for USAPL powerlifting. I'm assuming that you were able to download and start the software in Microsoft Excel. The version that I'm working on should work in Microsoft Excel 2007, 2010, and 2013. You'll have to, when you open it, you may have to enable the content or enable macros depending on the version of the program that you're using. We always start on the setup sheet to make sure that the contest is configured for your meet. I'm going back to make sure I am recording, and I am in fact recording. Okay. There's a button here that says reset for new contest, and when you click on it, it'll get rid of all of the information that was for previous contests. I'm going to say yes to clear the lifting sheet. I'm going to clear the I do have some stuff entered on the weigh-in page, so I'm not going to clear that one, and I can delete all the information on the setup page, and I will do that because we're going to go through that here. So I've reset as much as I wanted to for the contest. I need to enter the contest name. And so I've entered Nextlifter practice. Need to select the type of meet from the list, and I'm going to select a 3-lift powerlifting meet. This does a couple things. It configures the software for the type of meet that you're running. It hides columns that you don't need on the lifting page and on the weigh-in page, or unhides columns that you will need. And it also tells the meet what stuff to put in the pull-down menu on the lifting page when you're changing from squat 1 to squat 2 and various things like that. Okay, and enter the meet date. That's self-explanatory. And you can enter the actual day that you're doing the software. You can enter the time that the date of the meet. Below that is choosing what weight set you're going to have on the platform, whether it's pounds or kilograms. You can see that you can change from pounds to kilograms. Then you need to load in the number of plates that you have, and you may need to wait till a contest to actually count the number of plates that you have on the platform. One other possibility for setup here is that there are various makers of color-coded IPF plates, and they have slightly different color coding for the 10s, the 5s, and the 2s. And so as I switch through these, you can see that the Eleiko has a green 10 kilogram plate, the Evanco has a black 10 kilogram plate, and Titex has a green 10 and a purple 5. So they have some different ones. I'm going to leave it on Titex. As we go across now, here's the divisions, and there's a pull-down list here. You can choose USAPL divisions, and it will populate everything from youth, from female youth in the 8-9 division, all the way up to the youth in the 85 to 89 age group. And the same thing for the men. If you choose IPF divisions, it'll have the IPF age divisions, with the lowest age being 14 and the highest age being over 70. And if you choose custom divisions, it will be blank here, and you'll need to fill in the divisions and follow the instructions on how to do it. The first character always needs to be M or F, so that the scoring program can figure out how to compute the Wilks, and then a dash, and then some type of code that designates the division that the lifter is going to be in. After you put in the division, type in a description of what it is. So you could have, well, I'm going to do something simple here. I'm going to go male, raw, and MW for middleweight, and I'm going to tab over to the description and say men 53 to 74 kg. So I'm going to have the men competing in that weight class. And now, within that weight class, I can have them competing by their traditional scoring, which is everybody competes against everybody in their weight class and division based on total. If I had a very small meet and only had a small group of men between 53 and 74, I might want to choose number 2, which means that all the lifters in that group, or that I place in that group, they would be their placing would be determined by their Wilks points. And let's say I had that all those guys were, or that we had masters in that group, and we wanted to account for age, in which case I'd choose 3. So when you choose 3, the men are scored based on their Wilks, also an age coefficient, and that way if you have masters that range from 40 to 80 years old, there's some accounting for age. To keep things simple, though, I'm going to go back to IPF age divisions, and right now the default placing code is 1. I could change it to something else, but for most of the contests, this placing code is going to be 1. Then you can put in your teams, and I can have USA, United States, and I'm going to put in our neighbors to the north. But you can type in all the teams that you have. If you've got a fairly large contest like high school nationals with a lot of teams, there's room to put in almost all of those. And then, oops, sorry about that, I hit the wrong button on the mouse. Let me get back up to the top, and then in the flights you can choose flights or groups, and if that pops up, that's okay. You can choose flights or groups, and A, B, C, D. If you have multiple platforms, you could say flight 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Then on the second platform, you could have flight 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, etc. I don't have an unlimited number of flights in the scoring program. There's room for 16. I hope that's enough. If there isn't, then I would suggest just starting with a new file. But that's I can't put in an unlimited number of flights, so that's where I stopped. Okay, on the lower part of the setup page, there's a couple new pieces. You can choose how you're going to enter the lifter body weights. They can be in pounds or kilograms. And you can choose IPF weight classes or the high school weight class. The high school weight classes are the old USAPL weight classes before we adopted the IPF classes. And then there's also an update to the USAPL records. When you click this button, it will go to the internet, grab the most current USAPL records off of the internet, and store them in the scoring program. And then it will list the date where it was updated here. So I'm going to hit that button, and it basically deletes the pages that were there before. It goes to the internet, grabs the new data, and loads it into the scoring program, and you can see that the new date, 7/18/2015, is now in that block. If you're going to be scoring on the internet, you can click this button and it will create a web scoreboard file. And I don't want to dwell on that right now. I just want to get through the basic operation of the program. But this is also available. And then there's at the end of the contest, there's a button that generates a results file for the contest. And again, I don't want to dwell on that now because that'll slow us down getting the contest started. So that's the stuff on the setup sheet. Next place we go is usually the Weighin Sheet. Now I already had the data pre-entered in here. Normally you wouldn't be entering this data until after your until you got it during weigh-in. So the flights and groups are in a pull-down list. They're the same as the ones that you entered on the setup page. You should have all the lifters typed in here already before you start your meet. The team is also, the pull-down list in the team column will also be the same as you entered on the setup page. The male and female divisions, or the divisions, these are the same divisions that are on the setup page. If any of these, if the flight group or the team or the division are not entered on the setup page, then it will be red in this column. So if I went back to the setup page and deleted the USA, I'm just going to delete it for now. I go back to the weigh-in page, you can see that it's red, and that means that you didn't have the information correct on the setup page, or that when you copied, or if you copied information from someplace else and pasted it into this page, it didn't match what you had on the setup page. So that's something that tries to error-proof the program for you. So back on the weigh-in page, and now I just entered the body weight in kilograms, and this is linked to the setup page where you chose body weight in pounds or kilograms. This would change if you changed it on the setup page. Lot number you already know about. If you're a referee, we need lot numbers to decide who goes first if two people choose the same weight. Date of birth is in here. We need date of birth in the scoring program to choose the correct records for lifters, because somebody could open up or could enter the open division, but they would be eligible to compete in the masters division, or eligible for teen or junior records, even though they entered just the open, and we want to make sure we capture that in the scoring program. As we go down through the lifter list, you'll see that I have lifter number 4 entered twice. If a lifter enters 2 divisions, they need a separate line for each division. If they enter multiple events, like lifter number 2 here, powerlifting and bench press, they only need 1 line, but you just indicate which events they entered in this events entered column. And they can enter powerlifting, bench press. In a 3-lift meet, you can enter squat as an event, you can enter bench press as an event, deadlift as an event, and push-pull as an event, in addition to the 3-lift. So a lifter could be in a bunch of events. In the state column, I already have the abbreviations in here. There is not a pull-down list because I didn't want to have a pull-down list that was 50 states long. But if you try to type something in that's not an actual abbreviation for a state, you'll get a message. So that's in there so that state record keepers can go to national contests or go to other state contests and stay on top of which lifters have lifted and stay on top of their records. What is new on the weigh-in page that was not here before is that you can choose to print the cards for the lifters at any time. And so there's a little box in here where you can choose yes or no. Every one of these that you put a yes in, it will print those cards when you hit the print card button. If it says no or it's just blank, the card print won't work. If you don't want to print the cards, or if you want to print cards before your contest, before you get any information listed on this sheet, you can go to the speaker card sheet and hit a button here that will say print blank cards, and I'm going to hit it right now, and you notice that it got rid of all the information that was there before. And currently I don't have a printer set up, so it's only going to give me the print preview, but you can see what the page looks like for the printer, and you can see that 4 cards print on a sheet. So I'm going to close the print preview and go back to where I was before, but that's now available in the scoring program when it was not before. So after we have all the information loaded on the weigh-in sheet, now I hit the button that moves it to the lifting sheet, and it scrolls through all of them, the macros a little bit, and it has moved the weigh-in information to the lifting sheet. Now I need to select the first flight that's going to lift, so flight A, so that moves flight A to the top. And since this is a 3-lift meet, I'm starting with squat 1. So when I click squat 1 and flight A, you can see that it's positioned the bar load over squat 1. It has the first lifter in the box. Based on the division that the lifter entered, it actually spells it out, so it's not a code for the audience. It shows the weight class that they're in. We're on squat 1. The weight that they're going to be lifting, 50 kilograms, what it weighs in pounds. And it also displays the records for this event. So for raw open women, and this person was born in 1990, so they're only eligible for the open records. It's 150 kilograms. I'm going to slide just a little bit to the right. I don't have a squat rack entered here. I will enter that. Okay, I need to unprotect the sheet. I will fix that in future versions. But when I enter the squat rack, you'll see that the squat rack is displayed on the left-hand side of the graphic that depicts the bar load. And you can see the bar load on here, a green 10 kilogram plate and an orange 2.5 kilogram plate, which is what the Titex color coding is. And then also, what's new is that it also has an on-deck bar load. So the Nextlifter is lifting 55 kilograms, and that would be a 15 kilogram plate that's put on the bar. So the spotters and loaders already know what the next load is while and can be getting it ready while this person is lifting. As before, there are buttons for good and no lift. There's also a printer icon here now, and right next to it is a gray box with a pull-down list. And there are several things in that pull-down list. We can print opening attempts, and I'm just going to show you what each one of these things looks like. So if I click opening attempts, it doesn't do anything to this sheet, but when I hit the print button, and I'm going to just cancel printing because I don't have a printer hooked up right now, but I can go to the quick print page, and you can see that, and I'm going to zoom it in a little bit, you can see that it just has the opening attempts. It's got flight A, and so if, right after weigh-in, you might want to post this so that everybody knows what the opening attempts are for all the other lifters, and it also has a forecast score, a forecast total. So if this was a push-pull meet, that forecast score would be, you know, the sum of their bench press and deadlift. But so here's lifter number 1 with an opening squat of 50, an opening bench of 25, and an opening deadlift of 60. Their forecast total is 135, and also in their weight class, in the 52 kilogram weight class, they happen to be the only one. That gives them a forecast first place. So not only do they know what the opening attempts are, but what the forecast placing is. And this also has the starting order for squats because we hit the squat 1 button before we move to this page. Okay, I'm going back to the lifting page. I'm going to change to the next one. I'm going to go to the score sheet, and I'm going to print that out. And again, cancel the printing. But now, and I need to zoom out a little bit so you can see that now the score sheet, this is set up so you could print a copy for the score table or for the jury table. It's got the opening attempts for squat, bench press, and deadlift in it, but it shows all the columns for squat, all the columns for bench, and all the columns for deadlift, and they're blank so that you can actually write in the values for those attempts. And then the sorted results, we use that at the end of the meet, and I will show you that when we come to the end of the meet. But basically, it puts everybody in their final order of their placing. And after you would run any one of these macros, it defaults back to current status, and when you hit the current status button, it just prints out the sheet as it appears on the lifting page. So our current status, we're in squats, so it would show squats, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can read it better. It shows all the squats, and it shows the opening bench press and the opening deadlift, and it shows you know what the total is. But basically, this is just a quick print of where the contest is right now. And sometimes that's what people want right now, is what the contest is doing. So back on the lifting page, now it's time for good and no lift. And just as in previous versions of the program, for a good lift you click good. For a no lift you click no lift. And there are a couple features that are similar to previous programs. There's a button here that says auto, and that's where we usually leave it. When you click good or no lift, it will automatically advance to the next lifter. That's our default position. But sometimes we want to change and not have it advance so quickly. If we're video streaming, sometimes we can choose delay, and when we choose delay, we can choose how long the delay is. When you click good or no lift, now it will it'll wait 2 seconds before it moves on to the next lifter. When we're live streaming the information on the web, usually the boxes that I just highlighted, those are in the scoring live stream, and so when we click good or no lift, you'll see the box for the weight on the bar either change to red or green to indicate a good or a no lift, and it stays there on the live stream for a couple seconds before it advances. That way people can know whether it's a good or no lift without having to see the lights. So I'm going to click good, and you can see that it waits a little bit before it moves on. And then there's the other possibility, which is manual. In manual, when you click good or no lift, it will not advance automatically. We choose this when you're in third attempts and people are changing and you need to enter attempts and not have the program sort or move on to the next lifter until you've entered all the next attempts. And this helps the spotter and loaders from loading a weight that they don't need to put on the bar yet. Okay, we're now down to the last lifter in this flight, and I'm going to go back to auto. The last lifter in the flight entered 2 divisions. When we click good lift, it will automatically fill in both of those blocks green. And you notice also in the squat 2 column that where the squat 2 should be for lifter number 1, that's turned to a red crosshatch and or a red lined out block, as well as for lifter number 2, and that means that it's been more than a minute since we clicked good or no lift for those lifters, and basically they're late. So if a lifter has not turned in an attempt on time, the automatic bump, if it's a good lift, is 52.5, and I don't have the program set to do that because sometimes the attempt slips are on the table or the lifter's turned it in, but we just haven't had a chance to enter it in the computer. And then for lifter number 2 here, who did not turn in an attempt, if they're late, there is an automatic repeat. So they lifted 55 kilograms, and you can see that while we were doing that, that we went over the time for lifter number 3. So I'm going to enter a time for them also. And when I click good for lifter number 4, it turns both blocks green, and then it automatically parks the cell, or it automatically parks in the cell where I need to load the next weight. So most of the time I can just leave my mouse up here at the good and no lift buttons, and the cell is automatically selected where you need to put in attempt. So I'm going to put in 70 kilograms there, and you'll see that it fills in both of those cells. And so after that, go to squat 2, and this is just like previous versions of the program. And I can go good and no lift, and good and no lift, and good. And if I leave it on, well, I'm going to change that one back to no lift. Okay. On lifter number 2, let's say that either we clicked no lift when it should not have been a no lift. We can go back to that cell and click Control G to change that to a good lift, and that does not change the lifter who's displayed up here. So we can just go back and fix something if we happen to hit the wrong button. If a lifter got a no lift because of a spotter error, and they're going to get that attempt again, just go to the cell where it was, and I'm assuming that lifter number 4 here had a spotter error, and I typed that in as a 70, and you notice that both of the cells for lifter, well, I'm going to have to move off of lifter number 4, but you'll notice that both of the cells for lifter number 4 turned white, and that means that the lift has not yet been taken. A cell that is red or green means the lift had been taken and it was good or no lift. So I'm going to, and here's a use for that next button. If I'm not in the right place, I can click the next button and we'll move to the next lifter. So now I'm on lifter number 4. This lifter is taking their allotted rest time, and now they're at the end of the round, and we're coming back to give them another attempt. Now they're in the name list, and I can click good for them, and now it fills in, and you can see that their best attempt is now listed. So we would proceed through all of the squats, all of the bench presses, all of the deadlifts in this manner. And most of the folks who have used the scoring program before are familiar enough with it that you know that you've seen this. And what is different from previous versions is there is a forecast place and a forecast score that's updated every time we do lifts. I'm going to very quickly just give each lifter a good squat, a good bench, and a good deadlift, so we can get to the deadlift and look through some more of the features. So just bear with me while I click through the program here. So squat 1 again, and I'm just going to go good lift on all of these guys. And the program automatically sorts as it has done before. It does take a little bit longer to run the good and no lift macros because the program is saving and also performing more functions. It has to recompute the forecast score every time there's a good or no lift. So now I'm going to A flight and bench press 1. And again, I'm just going to go, I'm going to slide over a little bit. We're already on bench press 1, and I'm going to give everybody a good bench. And B flight. I need to click bench press 1 on B flight to move that to the top. And so now I'm going through B flight, and it's going through all the bench presses. And I'm going to go back to A flight. Deadlift 1. And you can see that as the scoring program advances, it just shows the best squat, the best bench press, and the subtotal. And that provides a little more real estate so you can see what all the previous lifts were. If I needed to go back and change those, I might have to unprotect the sheet and unhide the columns, but all of the information is still there. Just the columns are hidden. So good and no lift, and you can see as I'm filling in the various lifts, once a lifter has 3 good lifts, their powerlifting total, it shows their place. Lifter number 2 here missed their opening deadlift, so there's no placing for their in their event, and right now they have no forecast score yet because they haven't entered a second attempt. I'm going to put in some second attempts for these lifters, and when I enter a second attempt for lifter number 2, you can see that it has the lifter number 2 has a forecast total now, whereas before they did not. They have a best squat of 55, or actually their subtotal was 65. I'm sorry, 85, and then you add 65. Their forecast total is 150, and that would put them in second place in the division that they're in. Okay, in the Wilks points and age Wilks, they're still 0 because those are based on their actual total. So I'm going through the rest of the lifters, and I'm going to come back and, well, I'll finish up all of these lifters here and put in some extra attempts, and we'll at least get through second attempts for all of these lifters. And we're on deadlift 2, and as each lifter lifts, the line that they're in highlights, but it also over here in the place, division, and weight class, it will highlight the other lifters that are in the same division as they are. So here's a good lift. Lifter number 2 is in the 57 kilogram weight class. Right now they have no score, but lifter number 3 is also in the 57 kilogram class, and so both lines are highlighted. It highlights the line of the competition, or of the people that are competing against this lifter. So I'm going to give them a good lift, and now it shows them in second place, which is where their forecast score was. And I'm going to finish up the lifters in this flight. And now I'm going to go to B flight, and got to go back to deadlift number 1. And I should be working my way through all of the deadlifts, but I think you get the picture. And again, for folks who have worked the scoring program, deadlift 1, deadlift 2, deadlift 3 are all pretty much worked the same way. and that's the reason I didn't spend a whole lot of time going through bench press. Okay, so everybody's filling in, and now essentially we're at the end of the contest, even though these guys could go on and do some more deadlifts. But I'm going to assume that this is where the contest ended. I've got placing and scores for everybody, but they're not in any particular order. I could print out the current status, but that's not very well organized. So what I'd like to do is go click on sorted results, and when I click on sorted results and then the print icon, it puts everybody in the correct order. And I'm going to click the cancel print button. So you can see that the 63 kilogram raw female, she's up there alone. But now we had 2 lifters in the 57 kilogram class, and you can see that they're now in order. And we had 3 lifters in the 72 kilogram class, and they're now in order. And now if we go to the quick print page, or let me slide over a little bit, you can see that some lifters entered powerlifting and bench press. And while I can't display everything on this page, we only gave a lifter one line each. So there is a pull down here. If people said, well, what's a bench press look like? I could go here and go to best bench press, and then everybody who entered bench press, you could see where they placed also. I'm going to go back to powerlifting, and what's on this sheet is it moves around if you click things. But if I go back to the quick print page, you can see that, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Here's the sorted results, and it has all 3 of the lifts, and everybody's in order. And so it's got all the people who powerlifted, but it also went through and printed out everybody who was separated out for bench press. So it's got all the bench press placing in order also. So the quick print page, when we do sorted results, prints out all of the events, not just a single line like the lifting page displays. Okay. Also, when you run this this macro, the sorted results macro on the bench press page, or I'm sorry, on the lifting page, it also uploads the information for the awards page. And in previous contests, you had to walk through, well, which weight classes did I have people in, and which events did they enter? Now, the only options that you have are the ones that people actually entered. So we had 1 raw female in the 24 to 39 age group. There were 3 lift in the 52 kilogram class. If I go down to the 72 kilogram class, we had 3 females who lifted in that age group. And you can also come down and go to the bench press. We had 2 females who lifted in the bench press. So the pull down list now on the awards page only has the people who you listed. So you can click on there and just hit the down arrow, and it will just move to the next one. So you can just go through the awards without any guessing or clicking on something then having a blank awards page. So that's already loaded for you. Okay, so we've done everything pretty much on the lifting page. We've been through all of that. There's what's called a contest results page, and if I go to it right now, it's blank. Well, this is where we go back to the setup page, and at the end of the contest it says generate a results file, and right here it says send this file to the national office at the link below. So after it generates the contest results file, that file will be stored in the same directory where you stored the scoring program. So I'm going to click the button to generate the contest results file, and you notice that it generated all of the same information that that was on the sorted results page, except now it's not color coded. And also a little message says send this file to the national office so the meet results can be uploaded to the USAPL database. This is a single page file. It doesn't have any color coding on it except for a red text and a line through for no lifts. But this is in the format that the national office wants to see it so that it can be easily uploaded into the latest database. And also one of the things that is here too is that over in the place division and event column, it has the correct, or it has the division that the lifter entered, but a lifter of a different age might actually enter a weight class that is, or might enter the open even though they might be 41 or 42 years old. In that case, the division column here shows the actual USAPL weight class that the lifter was in. And even if on setup on the setup page, if we chose the IPF divisions, in fact, we've got the IPF divisions here. They're the ones that the lifters entered. If we go back to the contest results page, you notice that lifter number 4 here is in the raw female M1A class. She did not enter that class, but that's the age division that she was competing in when she lifted, and so the USAPL can look her records up and know that she lifted in this division. It did that lookup based on her birth year. So that's, I'm sorry, birth date. So that's the reason that we want to enter the birth dates correctly. So even if a lifter is entered in an open class, they can still get credit at the state level or even at the national level for the age division that they're actually in when they set records. So as I said, lifter number 4, this is the division that they were in based on their age, but over here in the contest results column, this is the division that they were in, or that they entered. And also the Wilkes points are here, and the state that the lifter entered, or the state that the lifter is from, is also shown here. So all of this information can go to the USAPL database, and it should make it a lot more automatic for the guys at the national office. So that covers just about everything. And as I said, there's there are 2 Excel files. There's one for the division that the lifter entered. I'm sorry, there's 2 Excel files. There's this contest results page that's in the file that we just looked at, but there's also a second file that's open that has that's stored in the exact same directory that has these contest results, but it's a single page. So we should not be sending in the entire scoring file. You should only be sending in the contest results file. I'm going to go to the file open, and you can see here's the, we did Nextlifter beta video 4, and that's the file that we were working on. Now here's the Nextlifter beta video 4 results, and you can see that it's only a 14 kilobyte file, whereas the scoring program was 445 kilobytes. So it's a much smaller file. It goes through the email without it goes through the email with ease, and that's what we should be sending into the national office. They don't need the whole scoring file; they just need the results. And so that results file is stored in exactly the same directory as we stored the scoring file. So that's what I have. That's what the new program looks like, and I'm going to stop the tutorial now. And if you have any questions, make sure you give me a call or send me an email.